Okay, next, let's go to, sorry, I'm still figuring out the technology here. Charles Crawford III. Now, Charles' engineering education started in high school with electives in drafting and electronics. He graduated high school with most outstanding student in technology, went on to graduate top of his class with a bachelor's of science in electrical engineering technology, and is currently a PhD student in electrical engineering at the University of Texas in Arlington. So he is going to be talking about a Graviflyer device that he purchased from Alexey Chekurkov. This was something that was actually shipped from the middle of Russia to him, and he has been talking to Alexey as well. And then actually after he talks with us, Mark Sokol has been talking with Alexey as well. So Charles, let me ask you to unmute there, sir.
Yep, do you hear me? How's the audio?
Perfect, perfect.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for joining us today. I appreciate it. This is your first time presenting as well, so welcome. And let me spotlight your audio. Okay. Yeah, and if you want to do a screen share or anything along those lines, there we go.
Sure, yeah, thank you for having me. As a long-time watcher, first time presenting, and I'm excited to show this full screen. So as everyone has difficulty pronouncing his name, I believe it's pronounced Alexey Chekurkov, Graviflyer. And this is designed explained by me, Charles Crawford III. And if anyone wants to contact me, they could send me an email at shafec2@yahoo.com. And yeah, any other questions after this presentation that we don't answer live after this, you can answer there. And you can also, if you have any business inquiries or if you want me to work for you, you can contact me through that. So I have two links here I wanted to share. This one is a playlist I made of Alex Chekurkov's videos. And I'll pull up the link here. There's 43 videos, not only Alex Chekurkov's, but also videos of, actually, let me close these. Switch, oops. Let me see if I could do a screen share of that. Oh, actually, is it sharing this? Okay, well, that's fine. I'll just continue here. So I have a playlist from that link. And yeah, the first one shows some Graviflyer clips. I'll play these for people that aren't familiar with it. Let's see, here we go, screen share. Share. And I put together this clip of all the flights of the Graviflyer and some of the technical information on it. And here's another flight of it. And I'll skip through some of this. Okay. And here are several other angles of it being flown. And a test that didn't quite fly. This one just flew over. And kind of falls over here. And this is another location. Graviflyer with much longer wires. And another field. And this is the video with video processing that Tim Ventura did with making brighter, more vivid colors. And then there's the latest flight in the field where you can actually hear some of the audio from the ultrasound. So later in my presentation, I'll show some of that. And the other link is to my YouTube, where I have my Graviflyer tests. And I haven't noticed any weight loss or flight yet, but I'm still experimenting with it. And I have some thermal cameras and other equipment to help view it, and compared it with the Hutchison effect. And then this is the Tesla coil and Graviflyer gravitometer that I got from Alexey Chekurkov. Okay, so I want to go a little bit into the theory. So this was translated from Alexey Chekurkov's description video explaining how it works, electronics of it, and schematics. So he believes, and I translated it to English, that one, an electromagnetic field of a certain frequency can lead to the absence of gravity. Two, the interference of its longitudinal waves created by two or more Tesla coils reject gravitational waves. Three, a force with a vertical vector appears in a rapidly rotating radiomagnetic field. And four, sound vibrations of a certain frequency cause objects to levitate. And the link to that YouTube video is down below. So I found in the comments, I translate those to English. Oh, and I wanted to mention another thing about the videos. You could go to closed captioning, and this is the #1 question in all the comments, subtitles, and you could do auto translate in whatever language you want. I mean, English. And then you have English subtitled for the Russian videos. And the translation isn't that great, but it's better than nothing. So that's how I went through the comments and did a program that'll help translate all the comments into English. And this is one about the theory that was important. So Alexey Chekurkov said, quote, "I am experimenting with different physical properties and different techniques. In this case, Schauberger's technology. The principle is such a high voltage current is applied to two oppositely rotating disks and high frequency pulses from Tesla transformer to middle one. With the correct adjustments of the entire system, torsion fields arise, creating an electromagnetic cocoon that bends around gravitation. Rather, the ether does not press the system to the ground. And then according to the classic, everything that does not hold the Earth's force field is thrown out by centrifugal force." And there was some controversy in the first Graviflyer video in 2017 with a thin wire that he's using to supply the AC signal to the center plate. It was similar to a lifter wire, which is a very thin copper wire, which some people claimed was a string holding it up. But he's since then made several videos demonstrating there's no strings attached by waving the stick over it, putting his hands around it. And there's nothing holding it up like a spinning plate by the wires, just the wires that are going down and they're giving power to the motors and ultrasound and the high voltage on the plates. So he could move those, and he also flew it very high here to see that there's no wires attached. Some said that maybe he's using like a garbage industrial electromagnet to help pull it up, but he's kind of laughed at that, and then he panned his camera up to see that there wasn't anything holding it up. And in this clip, he also is interacting with it. So if it was CGI, it would be hard to interact with it and without some cropping. So video editing, I don't see any trickery going on with how it's flying. He used a hula hoop to show there's no strings attached to the sides either or the top by passing that over it. And he's even spun all the way around with himself. So someone asked, Alex Chekurkov replied by saying, "I will do so, but at the request of subscribers in the open clearing without trees. Otherwise, they think that the device interacts with the metal reinforcements in the floor." So that's why a lot of his videos are done outside, so that there's no complaints that the steel bars in the floor are helping with the magnets propel it up. So there are 3 Graviflyer designs that I've seen. The first one is this one on the top left in 2017 that was shown in that first video clip. And this one was shown that never flew, but would just fall over. And then this is the latest design, which is in most videos. seems to be the most popular and most working one. These electronics that control it, he had everything running in the field with just a car battery, 12-volt car battery, and the Tesla coils on the left, and the electronics for the Tesla coil in this black box. And here's the ultrasound, which I believe is this box, the high voltage, I believe is this rectangular one, and then everything power and control from the car battery to the electronics is with that. And keep an eye on this component because this is actually the one he sent me. So we'll go into more detail on what's in this black box. So little comments by Alexey Chekurkov himself. He replied here, "Hello, Anton. I would have told everything long ago, but as I said, the disk was stolen from me by breaking into the garage. I did not have time to measure the parameters of the field frequencies since I didn't have a purchase and oscilloscope. And now it is difficult to restore the characteristics of the anti-gravitational effect as the lost picture in a kaleidoscope. Whatever one may say, I stumbled upon the secret by accidentally, intuitively making adjustments, but there is good news. I have made significant progress in Graviflyer technologies, and I will tell you more about that in the next video. So yeah, the first one that you saw in the first clip in the top left corner was one that he had working, but was stolen from his garage. So he's been very hesitant with sharing it, exactly how it works. This was another comment I translated English.
Charles, I'm sorry. Can I jump in real quick?
Yes.
We're having some background noise, and it looks like everybody is muted. Is that at your?
Okay, I think you're right. I have a little bit of noise.
Oh, okay, that's fine. That's fine. I just, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'll try to talk a little bit louder so that we drown out that background noise. Okay, so setting of the device, there's where the real hemorrhoids are, and so it's pouring on me in the comments like the loaded commas, and then they will rush to do everything without knowledge and essence and theory. As always, it will not work, and like war on my head like the Niagara Falls. I'd better bring everything to its local conclusion myself. I'll test the design for repeatability, and only after making sure that it's easy to repeat, I'll easily throw off all of the materials and drawings and descriptions on YouTube, unless, of course, my channel is banned or a brick is thrown off on my head. There's already been a case. I do not know by chance or not. I was pushed off the track on a motorcycle, and I had a broken leg. So he's had a bit of bad luck, and he kind of blames that on the anti-gravity research that he's been doing. So when I contacted him through the email he shared on his YouTube page, there was a lot of discussion of, will I be able to get it to work with, so when I tried to buy it, he would try to say that it's difficult to adjust and get working properly, but and that it's up to me once I buy it, that I have to get it to try to work with that. He's been trying to continue to work on the design to get it to work. So in my email with him, I wanted to mention this because even when he tried to ship it, he was afraid that it could be stolen and that they were monitoring him and his channel. So his car already had his brakes cut off. So after run off the road, that's why in some of the videos you see the helmet with the tinfoil on it, I believe is a motorcycle helmet that he had when his motorcycle probably got ruined from the motorcycle accident. So here's the schematic I pasted together from the clips in the video from this YouTube. And I also modified the transistor because he mentioned in a comment the transistor is drawn with an error when resizing, but this does not mean that it is assembled with an error. So he meant to show that it was NPN transistor, which is common circuit for Slayer exciter Tesla coil. I made that correction there. There are 4 main components to the Graviflyer's controls and the Graviflyer. The first is this top left high voltage circuit, and the second is the top right ultrasound circuit. The bottom left is the Slayer exciter Tesla coil circuit, and the bottom right is the Graviflyer frame. Okay, so here's some comments from Rex Research. They said they had a team Skype call with Alexey Chekurkov in September 15th, 2018. And he said, during our call, we had another long-time pod member join us and step through the Alexey Chekurkov circuit. Now we think it's designed to, we discussed waveforms, such as the pulsed half wave riding on a offset DC signal with a negative positive on the upper and negative at the lower. The waveform could be square or other, and it could be in phase or a number of degrees out of phase. We simply don't know. So the signals at all three plates receive some flavor of pulse DC. And this was the waveform they were kind of sketched out, what they think it'll look like. This is the lower rotating plate, gets the high negative voltage, and then the high positive voltage is in the upper rotating plate. Chris Hardiman went through the schematic and saw that there was a connection here that would make it, as he says, connection makes it pure DC. And he built a circuit that was able to produce the high voltage in his videos. And this is his schematic for that. Alexey Chekurkov said the voltage is about 30 kilovolts, and the ultrasonic frequencies are synchronized depending on the duty cycle of the pulse from the catcher, which is another name for the Tesla coil. Everything is configured synchronously. And here is a picture of the high voltage circuit was put in a modified multimeter case. French shorting, but a lot of this circuit I don't know because the components are not labeled. It looks like there's maybe 24 volts in this schematic, but he was able to power it with the car battery. So he's probably using 12 volts later. Now this looks like a DC linear stabilizer, which is kind of the input for a flyback transformer. And then that kind of goes to a Cockcroft-Walton multiplier. But this one's a little different in that half the voltage will go to the top plate and half will go to the bottom plate. So I'm still waiting on these parts from Alexey Chekurkov. I've tried to order the complete kit. And when I get more information on these, I'll definitely share them later. This is what I know about the ultrasound. It is connected at the top of the Graviflyer, and all three Graviflyers use them. And here is the schematic, 12-volt battery powering the ultrasound as transformer. And this is, the circle is a common piezo element, like a mosquito tweeter, a piezoelectric. And we have this Honeywell container is normally used in a heater, a spark heater for water heater, but he modified it again to hold this electronic equipment. So this potentiometer and transistor was added later. A lot of the stuff he'll get from a landfill and kind of modify to work. So we analyzed the latest video from Alexey Chekurkov, and Jeremiah Pop helped figure out the frequency and using some software analyzers, and found it to be 12,445.31 hertz. And that's at least when it's flying. We don't know if it's adjusted while tuning it before the flight. He has yet to share the tuning process, and he hasn't sent me the email on how to do the tuning either, but he said he would after I receive all the parts. So I have these two in earlier videos, look like the ultrasound devices, but I couldn't find what model they were. Maybe some Russian mosquito repellent ultrasound, or maybe something he built. This one I know a little bit more about. This is the Slayer exciter Tesla coil, opposed to catcher. And he sent me the one in the video, and this is inside the black box. So I measured it to be 1.2 megahertz with no wire down the center. And it's 1 megahertz at 2,480 volts AC peak to peak. The plate will receive the 1 megahertz at about 270 volts AC peak to peak. The wire isn't directly connected to the output. It only goes about halfway down the center of it. And the primary has 4 turns. This is primary part of the Tesla coil at 18 wire gauge. The secondary has about 1,055 turns at 24 wire gauge, so 15 inches tall. It is. And this is the transistor he's using, which is the main component of the Slayer-Sire Tesla coil. It's a 2N3055. And the other components are this 47 kilo ohms power resistor at about 5 watts. You can see it here. The 10 kilo ohm potentiometer is here. This capacitor is 25 volts, 4,700 microfarads here. And this transformer and power is just to convert the European power, no matter which way you plug it in, to 12 volts. And this diode bridge looks like this. So someone asked me they couldn't really read the schematic, so I drew out the circuit, how it would look with the components, roughly. And this is the transistor. When you get it, don't be alarmed. There's 2 probes, 2 pieces. That's the emitter and base. The collector is the metal frame itself. So you can just solder or connect a wire to one of these. In Alexey Chekurkov's design, this is the transistor. He has the lug there to the frame and then soldered to these 2. He's using a heat sink here and these 2 screws to hold it all together. So, but unfortunately, I tried to research that 2N3055 transistor from the manufacturer, and the product is out of production. So you can still get it on eBay, but I'm still looking for other models of transistors that will work. This is the Graviflyer frame design. So some people have drawn it to better be understood the rotation. You can actually see a frame from Alexey Chekurkov's videos. The rotation direction on Alexey Craft is counterclockwise, looked at from the bottom. So Chris Hardiman drew this. Clarity, the center plate not shown for clarity in this model, but looking at the bottom up, it's counterclockwise for the bottom plate, and the top down, it's counterclockwise for the top plate. So the voltage, about 30 kilovolts, and the speed of the disk is about 2,600 to 2,890 RPM, but there's nothing to measure. He doesn't have any equipment like oscilloscopes or tachometers to measure the speed. It's kind of just calculated on the motors parameters, and the 12 volts, he's applying them at full speed. They're brushed DC motors. This one looks like a fan motor that's modified without the fan, and then has an insulation that separates the high voltage from the plates with the motor and the motor shaft. And same with the bottom plate. And in this design, only the bottom plate has the 6 magnets with north facing up. And they're circular magnets with a hole through and a bolt holding them to the metal plate. And there is a brush that supplies the high voltage to the bottom and top plate. That's the high positive voltage. You have to be careful not to touch this plate while it's charged. You'll get a shock. It probably won't kill you because it's low power, but high voltage. And these are the powers to the power supply on that. If you're looking at this angle, the edge nearest to you will be rotating to the right for the top plate and to the left for this bottom plate. And more on the design, the center plate will go into more detail what material that's made out of. In this earlier video, it looked like a steel, and this one, it's more like aluminum sheet on a plastic or wood material. And there's 3 arms that hold everything together. It's probably aluminum. I've used steel bolts before, but having spinning magnets near that will start to unscrew those bolts. So it's probably better used to use aluminum or brass bolts. And I originally used lock nuts, but it was difficult to thread a lock nut all the way through down to here. So it's easier to use a regular nut and a lock washer. And that's about it. Okay. And here's some more comments by Alexey Chekurkov about the center plate. He said the wheels are made from textured aluminum with anodized finish. So that's the rotating discs that have a texture based off Gravenikov's Lytra, which is a beetle wing. So he was inspired by that story from Viktor Gravenikov, and he accidentally received these textured aluminum plates while he was ordering some aluminum sheets. And he found that they work better than normal aluminum sheets. So what material is the middle disc made from? Weird ask. And someone, Alexey Chekurkov replied, the middle disc is cut from an old DVD case. So even he's probably not sure what material it is used from. I asked if the tin was used for the center plate, and he said aluminum. So we confirmed that it's probably aluminum for the center plate, at least in the latest design. He also sent me the gravitometer, and I reverse engineered that, taking apart. I have the schematic here. It uses a red and green LED for indicators, a potentiometer for adjustments, a switch that connects the center probe with the right probe, and a capacitor that's 0.01 microfarads at 1000 volts. And that is the part number KEU 1910. And that's a close up of that part there. And that was kind of all put together into this black box. And a meter, which is analog multimeter, it just has the positive and negative connect to this jumper that goes to the negative, connects here to the potentiometer. The positive goes straight to the right fin. And this is made from the same textured aluminum that he's using for the rotating discs. So I got a closer look at it. And it looks like the stucco textured aluminum I have on my parts list for one I'll show you later. And again, this is the schematic drawn with the actual components for better visualization, but I prefer the electrical schematic. Copy. And it's another comment from Alexey Chekurkov. He says, yes, you can have a simple circuit, but it is difficult to adjust the parameters. The main thing is to synchronize the duty cycle with the pulse generator, with the frequencies of the ultrasound generator, and at the same time, maintain a certain voltage between the discs. I already published the circuit here, and that was English also there in the lower right corner. Click on it. So a lot of times he would repeat himself by explaining how to translate the language, the videos into English. But I noticed a lot of people use their cell phone to watch these videos, and I don't believe that feature is available on YouTube with cell phone, so you have to use a computer. So again, he's talked about he has already uploaded drawings and explanation. So what's the use? Nobody was able to adjust the levitation effect. So after a few years, he's starting to get discouraged. And there's already a video on how to assemble a device. It's not difficult. The problem is that it's difficult to adjust the levitation effect. So don't waste your time, money, or nerves. Wait until bring the device to perfection. So he still believes that he can make the device more user-friendly so that they can adjust effects. I've been trying with the others design, the latest design, and I haven't had any success yet. So it is very difficult to adjust. Here's another comment. He said, I've already uploaded both the circuits and the theory to the internet. But the problem is that it's difficult to configure this device for the levitation effect. Without special knowledge, the device cannot be launched. And I posted the circuit for free, and so far no one has repeated it. Many devices have been copied by themselves, but without results. Imagine a housewife trying to set up a satellite dish, or a plumber trying to fix a computer. What do you think? Can such people achieve results in an area that they don't know? So in any case, my enthusiasts spend time and nerves trying to reproduce the apparatus whose operating principle lies beyond the boundaries of classical physics. So as you see there, yet it's very difficult to tune, and he's been trying to perfect it before going commercial. Well, I convinced him, since I'm going for my PhD in electrical engineering, that I could probably try to figure out how to use the device. So I convinced him to ship me one. So other people have tried to buy it from him, and he said here you could sell it for the price is 1,500 euros. How much here? He says it's not difficult and not expensive to build apparatus. It's difficult to adjust parameters, levitation effect. Well, I'll build one and I'll send it by mail. It's not expensive. It's about 340 euros for him to build. And then I'll look for the resonance. Then you will look for the resonance of the torsion fields month after month to combine the duty cycles of the quality pulses with the ultrasound frequencies, and waste your nerves and time on the fact that you do not know how it works. If you still wanted to buy this device, I can send it, but do not be angry with me if it doesn't work. I honestly warned you about the difficulties. I myself adjust the parameters for 2 hours, but I know the physical and processes of to create the anti-gravity process. Decide yourself if you want to send it, then give your address. If you give the bank account number, I'll give you the bank account number. As soon as you transfer the money, I'll send the device, but disassembled without the car battery. And it's heavy and shipping will be expensive. So he mentioned to me that he won't send it with the wires because the wires weigh the most, and that connect the electronics to the Graviflyer. So to save energy on shipping. But I believe once he gives me what those wires are, probably high voltage wires, I could just easily buy those and connect them up myself. And assembling it is relatively easy, even if he shipped it unassembled. So I convinced him to send me the kit, and I think I'm the first one that's been successful with purchasing it from him. Others have tried. He has a link here to his pinned project assistance, his bank account, IBAN number. And this is how I found his contact through Alexey Chekurkov. It's alexchekurkov@gmail.com. He also has links to his PayPal and Payoneer, but I've tried to send the money through that, and that has not been successful. So he's also mentioned here that the information schematics everything is written in Russian, and then you want to translate and send other people volunteer for help translating some of this. I can read this. Is ready to provide schematics of the device. So I used Google Translate, it doesn't translate schematics well. And instructions on the assembly, but it will be difficult to adjust the parameters, creating the effect of levitation. The matter is that it works under physical laws, which are rejected by official science. Any electronics engineer can collect the schematics, and scientists from all institutes of the world won't be able to adjust the parameters even. Let's make so it brings the schematics to perfection that adjust parameters the school student could even, and then I will sell the device together with the instructions for $500, and the price arranges. So he plans to eventually make it simple enough anyone could have it levitate from a kit, and he'll sell it for about $500. But until then, I've been working on my version of the Graviflyer, and I put designs on Thingiverse for free. So the bill of materials are there for the parts I'm using. And with this design, it uses like an ESC motor, but I recommend using a brushed motor because the ESC uses a PWM signal that when near the high voltage on the plates will interfere with that signal, and even the receiver is too close. Alexey Chekurkov himself says any high voltage, any electronics near the device will be destroyed by this high torsion field that's near it. So his cameras can't get too close to it. He's using a 4K GoPro, but doesn't have zoom. So a lot of videos are from further back. This is the Alexey Chekurkov Tesla coil. So the Slayer side art Tesla coil design I put on Thingiverse as well. And it has the components there and the parts used to build that. So you build your own. I measured the frequencies and the output are the same. So I reverse engineered his design, made it a little smaller, simpler, and 3D printed. And this is the gravitometer. I've reverse engineered and made simpler and smaller. And now the fins fold back all the way so that you could actually fold it up and make it easier to transfer it. Yes, and we have some good news here. Chris Hardiman from Alexey Chekurkov Replication has posted several of his build videos on there, and on his Facebook I found some of the theory. He's a chemist, so he wrote, it's not electrically entirely, but magnetic for the most part. The magnetic field causes the nuclear perturbation and introduces an incredible response in the electron orbit, polarizing the atoms and introducing an anisotropic force that is incredibly strong. This in turn affects the Higgs field in a fantastic way. Remember, the effective magnetic field is huge, even close to the nucleus, and the electrons in a perturbed orbit experience it. Gravity is subnuclear, and to develop a way to control it requires control at the nuclear level. Once you do that, it's straightforward, period. So I like that. In November 14, 2019, he posted that, and he showed some more of his build. He was originally using a Amazon Tesla coil, but he later went to his own design for the slide exciter Tesla coil. Using a normal Tesla coil, it's hard to put a wire down because the frequency it produces will cause the insulation to catch fire. So you can only get near the outside or top of a normal Tesla coil. So I believe the slide exciter Tesla coil is definitely needed. And the good news was in January 19, 2020, he says, well, to start negative 80 grams using his mechanical scale on his Graviflyer. And he said in this video, or this clip from his Facebook page, here Alex Chekurkov shows the bottom disc rotates. And that's what I found out to be true with my model. It lost almost 75 grams, wrong frequency to keep the field apart. And the other way was nothing. It will show you what the fields are doing in the next video. I will show you what the fields are doing in the next video, or in the next post. But the good news and the important thing here is he had 75 grams weight loss in one direction when they were spinning, but doesn't work when they're spinning, plates are spinning in the other direction. So this is, again, Alex Flyer duplication on hold, waiting for transistor replacement to arrive. So he eventually got that. And he went through more on the schematics. And his latest was to replace the center plate, because here he was using some sort of tin, I believe. So that's where I got. But unfortunately, Chris Hardman passed away on February 9th. So I tried to contact him to buying some of the parts or collaborate with them. He already passed away. So here is his wife, Flo Hardman. So they actually died on February 9th at work. And I think it was a heart attack and still no cause of death. You can see that on his Facebook page. And okay, so yeah, that's unfortunate, but Chris Hardman's Graviflyer was donated by Flo Hardman to Mark at the Falcon Space. So hopefully we could reproduce that 80 or 75 gram weight loss from experimenting with it. So these are the two components I got from Alex Chekurkov, the gravitometer and the slide exciter Tesla coil, what he calls the catcher. So I'd like to do a live demo of that. Let me see if I could stop sharing. And if we could do a just video. Okay, so we have a video here. Hopefully it's full screen on your side. So here's the gravitometer. And this is the potentiometer. And the meter, analog, and then just two wires that connect to these on the back here in the wires. And there's a little hook for hanging it. And the switch is just on off for connecting the center and this right fin. And they bend it, they bend out. Come here. There we go. And this one can't really bend around. That's why it's about as far as its range. But these are used to measure the field around the Tesla coil and Graviflyer to adjust it. The electromagnetic fields are, of course, invisible to the human eye. But using this meter, you could measure, better see and predict where they're going to be produced around. So we also have the slide exciter Tesla coil. It's reassembled here. There's a few screws that hold all together, so I can't show the inside without taking that apart. But I have the European adapter, and just plug that in. This on-off switch, and this is a neon bulb that will be able to pick up the high voltage. So you can't tell by looking at it that it's on, but when you get near with the bulb, it'll light up, and the body acts as grounds by holding it. That's what will light it up. In several videos, you'll see it around the slide exciter Tesla coil. With normal Tesla coil, it'd be difficult to have metal near it because it'll start shorting to the metal. But with the slide exciter, it automatically adjusts to the frequency of things metal put around it or down it. So that's why you could put the metal down the center of this slide exciter Tesla coil without it being destroyed or causing any fire. Okay. After that, turn that off. Not sure what the potentiometer does. It doesn't seem to adjust the frequency or amplitude. If it's too high or too low, it won't work. It won't have an output. But I believe maybe you could be replaced with just a another resistor. All right. Let me share screen again. Okay. 29. So that is, yeah, I took this clip from one of Alexey Chekurkov's videos and I placed it with the like a poster from the X-Files. This is I Want to Believe. So I believe it does work, and I haven't verified it myself, but I'll keep working on it to try to get it to lift eventually. And even weight loss is a great result that Chris Hardiman already showed. So yeah, I'm still waiting on a few parts. Once they come in, we'll share it more with this group. And yeah, I could pretty much finish early. If there's any questions, we could start answering those early.
Okay, wonderful. Charles, thank you, sir. Let me remove the spotlight there. And before we do anything else, I want to put this on gallery view. Let's give a giant applause to Charles Crawford III. That was a great presentation. We had some issues with background noise, and that's okay. We were trying to hunt for it on my end. So